to get the 263 to stop sounding like the rod's gonna fly out the side of the block. So I put this 263 together using EC Carb's budget 263 kit, and this thing is super durable. I've used this engine over, I don't know, probably 10 or so videos, and I beat up on this thing. So finally, at the last GPS 180 race, this thing started knocking and smoking. So the smoking part could be that I put, I don't know, probably 50% motor honey in the crankcase to shut it up. So I'm gonna pull this thing apart and we'll see what's up. I think before I tear this thing apart, I'm gonna throw some regular oil in it and fire it up because it hasn't been fired up in like, I don't know, 6 or 7, 8 months, and then we'll see what it sounds like, and then I'll go from there. So this is the motor honey we ran at the race. Oh man, that stuff is black. Yeah, it looks pretty thick. But there's not a lot of metal in it. There's really no metal in it. Not that I can see. So that's a good sign. Maybe I just slap a rod bearing in here and we'll see what happens. I'll throw some new oil on this and then fire it up and we'll see what it sounds like. So I got the carb bowl pulled off of this thing. Seems how it's been setting for since November. And then this thing is finally done, or almost done, dripping. But anyway, I'm gonna pull the pilot out of this, the pilot jet, just to clean it up before I try to start it. Let's see if this thing's clogged up here. Oh yeah. Yep, it's pretty clogged up. Man, I can't believe that belt looks that good after that race. It still looks pretty good, even though we didn't totally finish, but we finished most of it. Throw another recoil on here. Seems how we smashed the other one when we dumped the bike. Okay, let's get the gas here. Got a little smokage still. Might need rings. I mean, maybe, you know, it kind of needs rings. And the bottom end doesn't sound too bad. I mean, it clatters a little bit. I really don't think it's the rings. I think it's the head gasket. I think it's blown right there at the oil passage. And as the piston comes down, it's sucking oil out of the oil passage right down into the cylinder. I mean, because that's a lot of oil this thing's pumping. I mean, it's doing a lot of smoke. I got to pull the engine off the bike anyway because during the race, we cracked the motor mount and had to weld it. So I'll go ahead and pull this engine off and I'll tear it apart and we'll see what's up.
2 weeks later.
Okay, so I got the 263 off of there. And now you can really see the crack in the motor mount. So the motor mount is cracked all the way from there to there. So I went ahead and welded it there and under there. So just to make sure. Went ahead and welded up the seam right there on the outside too. So now we get a nice solid platform again. So now I'll come over here and tear the engine apart. This is actually a really cool valve cover. It's made, I mean, extra super beefy, and it actually has a real oil baffle. So look at all that stuff in there. I mean, a little bit of black sludge. Looks like it's got a little metal mixed in with it. Cam still looks pretty good. Push rods look nice and straight. So these are NR Racing chromoly push rods. Lifters still look pretty good. I tell you what, everything is super oily on this. It's really wet. There's a lot of oil around that oil passage. I have the wire ring on there. You can still feel the wire sticking up a few thousandths, and you can see where the wire embedded itself into the ring on the gasket. So it should have had a good seal right there. So I'm not sure if it was sucking oil right there or not, but I'll just go ahead and swap out the ring, swap out the rod bearing. I mean, you might be able to see a little bit of a crosshatch pattern still on there. And the cylinder is nice and smooth. See what that rod bearing looks like. I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, it has some wear to it. And this thing is light, I tell you that. I mean, you can see some wear on there, but I mean, it doesn't look like terrible. So I think I'll throw some rings on here. And the crank pin is in great shape. That thing's nice and smooth. Yeah, the crank pin looks fantastic. So I think that rattle, that little bit of a rattle, if you look at this, you can see the wrist pin kind of rocks a little bit. You would figure it was the piston that wore out because of the softer material, but it's actually the wrist pin. Look at the grooves in this wrist pin. You can see how loose it is, but then it's tighter in the middle. So I think I'll just replace the wrist pin and then the rings. Throw a little bit of a crosshatch pattern back on here. Throw on a new rod bearing. Might replace this case bearing on this side. It feels a little bit rough, so I'll probably replace that too. So after a couple years of wide open throttle videos and a couple GPS 180 races, it kind of wore this thing down a little bit. The crank pin looks fantastic. I mean, it looks nice and smooth, almost like a mirror finish. The cylinder wall is really good. So this time around, I think I'm gonna run a copper head gasket. It's a little bit thinner. And then of course it has the oil passage, unlike the other gasket. And then I'm gonna swap out the piston rings, the wrist pin, the rod bearing, the rod bolts, and a case bearing, because one of the side case bearings or crank bearings feels a little bit rough. So I think I'm gonna swap that out. And then I think that should pretty much do it. So you have the copper gasket with the oil passage open. Then you have your fire ring gasket with the oil passage closed. And what's cool about the block is I have it O-ringed, so it'll work good with this copper gasket. And then another thing, the copper gasket is thinner. So we'll bump the compression just a little bit. So we have about 45 on the fire ring gasket. And I think this was 37. Yeah, 37. So it'll bump the compression a little bit with this. Oh, and then while I'm in here, I might replace the 1.1 shaft mounted rockers for 1.3. So you definitely can see the wear marks on the old wrist pin. So on the old wrist pin, you have what, 495? And then the new one, 509. So no wonder this thing rattled. So before I throw this copper head gasket on there, I got to anneal it to kind of soften it up a little bit so it's more pliable and it will seal. And then on top of that, like I said earlier, the block is O-ringed, which you have to do, or you should do. I mean, it'll work a lot better, especially on a 3-inch bore. Yeah, on this 3-inch bore, you have very little material right here. So it's a very small sealing surface. So you definitely need that wire O-ring in there, at least on a 3-inch bore, especially on a 3-inch bore. Definitely work a lot better. Get this thing nice and hot. So that should do it. Hopefully it's soft enough. So this time around, I'm going to run these 1.3 ratio rockers instead of the 1.1s, and I don't need to check for clearances or clay the cylinder, which I have done in another video, because I have run ratio rockers on this engine before. But there is a slight difference this time around. We are running that copper head gasket, which is what, around 10 thousandths thinner, but it still should be okay. I hope. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Throw a little Loctite on these just to be safe. So the cam card calls for the valve lash to be set at 3 on the intake and the exhaust. Throw in my brake-in oil. So last time around when I was using this brake-in oil on the 263, I was doing around, I don't know, 70 miles an hour. So I wonder if that was good for it, going that fast with the brake-in oil. Maybe this time around I'll get a couple heat cycles in there and go a little bit slower. Maybe. All right, so that's pretty much it. So let me fire this thing up and we'll see if it smokes like a train. And if it does, that's okay. It'll keep the top end lubed up and that'll help it out. We made it to the end of the driveway without the rod going through the block. That's a good sign. Cruise this thing around here, get these rings seated in, run a couple heat cycles through it. Got a lot of smoke. Seems like this thing's running real rich, so it kind of stutters. So far, so good. No smoke. So I'll have to go back after I break this thing in and adjust that carb. It's set up a little bit rich because we were running it down in Texas. And up here, I usually use a little bit smaller jet. pretty good so far. Just cruising around the hood. If we make it around the hood, that's a pretty good sign. And if we don't, at least it's not a far walk. Looks a little smoky out here today. I think there's a few fires going on. Almost, what, halfway through without it breaking down? Yeah, I can tell it's a little bit rich because when you get on it, it kind of stuck. Well, I'm pretty sure it's rich. When I get back, I'll check that plug. Yeah, right there, it's got a dead spot. Yep, it's rich. It runs pretty good though. Otherwise, so far so good. So far so good. It seems like it runs pretty good. So I've ran quite a few heat cycles through it over the last couple days. So now I'll go ahead and change out that braking oil for some real oil. And then I think I'll change that jetting on that carb because it's super rich. Oh yeah, she's definitely running rich. So definitely gonna have to downsize these jets a little bit. Man, that stuff is super thin, look at that. Almost looks like water, it's so thin. Go ahead and put this clip back down on the middle because I had it richened up a little bit. Downsize that main jet. I can't remember exactly what main jet I have in here. Pull this carb off of here. It's a lot easier than trying to change the jet on the bike. So I think your pilot jet's in the ballpark because if the air screw's not more than like 3 or 3.5 turns out, then the pilot jet should be in the ballpark. And I think right now this is about 2.5. 2.25, so it should be in the ballpark. So we're running a 135, so I think I'll drop it down to a 130. Yeah, like on a 212 or a 223, I'll get away with 115 or 120 up here even at this elevation. So it seems like it's a lot more snappy now, and it comes down off idle really quick. So I think the pilot jet is right there in the ballpark. The air screw is only out a couple turns before it reaches its maximum idle, or its most efficient. So I think it's right there, and then we'll go test out the main jet, and we'll see how that runs. But it seems pretty snappy. That's a lot better. It doesn't have that stutter anymore. Good to the mid-range, but I feel like the top end's kind of cutting out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, top end's cutting out. Yeah, I definitely need to take this car completely apart and just clean it out. I mean, it's been set for like 8 months. But it definitely runs a lot better. So I think the rebuild was a success. It doesn't smoke anymore, and the rod didn't go through the block. So I think we're good to go. I think we're ready for another 10 videos on this engine.